Hi, my name is Nuno from Sound Particles, and it's a pleasure to be here today to present inDelay, our recent plugin. So let's take a look. inDelay, it's our vision what a modern delay plugin should be, with advanced powerful features, many of them never seen before and yet very easy to use. You're going to be able to do things like delay movement to bring life to your mixes. You're going to be able to use particle systems to generate up to 100 delays in a very easy way. You're going to be able to use space patterns for different feedback repetitions, new filters including air, and many new things. But be warned, because we are talking about a very addictive plugin. I'm pretty sure you're going to spend many hours playing with inDelay on the upcoming days. So let's have a deeper dive into the software, and for that let me pass to Eduardo.
Thank you for the introduction, Nuno. inDelay is a powerful delay plugin with three modes: channels, taps, and particles. Let's start by exploring the channels mode. Here is our delay panel, where we are going to visualize our delays, and it will change accordingly to the output format. On the left section, we can play with the delay time. We can decrease or increase the gain of the delay, and also with the feedback levels, as you can see. We can also visualize the time in seconds, or we can sync it to the project tempo according to our preferences. For now, I'll just leave it in seconds. As you can see, we have our feedback set to classic. So let's just hear how classic sounds, and then I'll show you the other options. In the classic mode, you have all feedbacks on the same position. But if you open this drop-down menu, you can see that we have the numbers 1 to 4, which indicates the number of feedbacks we can have. I've selected 4, so now I have 4 feedbacks, and I can even control the position of these feedbacks. So let's put the sound starting on the left and moving towards the right. As you can see, now we have created a movement for the feedback delays. And then we even have these compound feedback options. For example, in the 1-2-1-2 option, the delay moves between handler 1 and 2 until the sound ends. The first repetition plays at the position of handler 1 and the second delay at the position of handler 2, and repeating this pattern until the sound ends. And all of these can be controlled per channel, so you can enable or disable the input channels. Here you can have them in different positions with different parameters, or if you prefer, you can link all, where you will be able to control the parameters of both channels at the same time. Now let's talk about the time editor. As you can see, you can move the items here to change more than one parameter at the same time. You can control the time, the gain, and even the feedback for each channel, as you can see. Also, when we play some sound, we can visualize the history and how it's being changed over time. With a right click on the time editor, we can visualize a few more options about history. We can select what is being shown on the meters, only the selected channel, all channels, or hide the meters at all here in the timeline. We can also show only the current channel or show all channels. And we can edit only this current channel or all channels. And lastly, we can select the scale for our time editor, either linear or logarithmic. Now, as you can see, both our left and right channel delays are static, but we can add some movement to add some panoramics to our mix. So let's explore these 4 movements we have in inDelay. We can start with the rotate movement, where we can rotate in both directions and we can even control the velocity, just like this. We can have the random movement, where the sound generated by the plugin can randomly rotate in the sound field. We can also have the up and down movement, just like this, and of course we can change the position of our delay as well. And lastly, we have a float movement, where our delay will just be floating around the entire sound field if we have the area to 100%, or we can reduce it as well. Let's listen to the guitar with the right channel delay floating and the left channel static. Now, on the right side of this top bar, you will find multiple filters, like a 3-band equalizer, where we have a low, mid and high. We can have a 1-band parametric equalizer with frequency, gain and Q factor controls. We have this craziness filter, which will create several delays based on the delay time, before and after the delay time. And lastly, we have the air filter. This is our air plugin built in. It will add air absorption to realistically simulate the distance of each delay. Let's see it in action. As you can see, we have a low-pass filter automatically being applied based on the delay time. You also have a kill button, which will mute the plugin in case of undesired output level. And on the right side, you have the master output section, where we have our master gain, the delay gain or wet, and the input signal gain, also known as dry. In the taps mode, we can control up to 16 individual taps. Instead of controlling the input channels, we can set up these individual taps and select what is going into each one of those. As you can see, you can select the left or right channel, or even both, and this is because I only have a stereo input source. If I had any other format, I would have here the list of channels available to select what I want to send for each one of the taps. So now I'm going to create an example with 6 steps, where we will have kind of a ping-pong delay from left to right, and at the same time going from front to back. I'll start by reducing the gain a bit.
Get away from me. Yardstick law and order.
Now we have the taps in position, but they all have the same delay time. So let's change that.
I'm at a wild companion. I got a new cannon. I found gold in the ashtray.
And in the last step, I will add just a little bit of feedback.
Get away from me.
And just like that, we have created a spatial ping-pong delay with 6 taps. And then we also have this tap button that allows to tap a rhythm on taps mode. The first click starts recording, and then the following clicks sets the time for the delay taps. Now let's talk about the particles tab. Here we have a particles button, which will control the number of particles we can have in the plugin. As you can see, we can have up to 100 particles. We can also move around the position of the particles with this handler. We can control the delay time. Once again, we can sync it to the project tempo or not. And we can also control the distance attenuation, which will make the delays with greater times to be attenuated. So the higher the delay time, the lower their level will be in comparison with the first ones. Here we can also select if we want a linear distribution or a Gaussian distribution for our delays. As you can see in the Gaussian, they are more focused towards the central point. Let me change the view to linear to make it a little bit more clear. So now we have the points more in the center, and with the linear distribution, we have the points spread in the entire time divergence spectrum. Now let's see how to control the particles distribution in space. So on top of the particles button, you can have this regular distribution that does not affect any parameter of inDelay particles. Then you have the horizontal that sets all particles to elevation 0. You have the vertical option, puts all particles with the same azimuth, changing only the elevation. And finally, you have the soundscape and soundscape 3D, which will distribute your particles over a square or a box respectively. In the time divergence, you can set an interval where this cluster of delays can occur around the defined delay time. You can control this with this knob or here in the time editor. You can also control the gain divergence, which will attribute different levels to the delays. And of course, we can also control the band divergence. So the lower we have this value, the more concentrated the particles will be in one point. When you start to increase the band divergence, we get the particle spread in the entire space. Let's listen to an example. Now we have all the 20 particles concentrated in the same point. And as soon as I start to increase the band divergence, we start to get this feeling of having all these particles around us. And of course, in the particles mode, we also have access to all the movements. So let's just play a bit with them.
I found gold in the ashtray, honey on the knife blade. I got a new cannon. I'm sinning. Get away from me.
Let's just decrease the delay parameter a bit to blend it well with the original vocals track. Lastly but not the least, let's just address this top bar. Here you can enable and disable the plugin, also known as bypass. You can also control the zoom of the plugin to visualize it bigger or smaller. Then we have this randomization button, which is great for epic accidents. So every time you click it, as you can see, you get a complete randomization of the parameters in the plugin. We have the presets menu, where you can select from all these built-in presets, or of course you can also save your own presets, and you can use these left and right arrows to navigate on them. On the right side you can select the input format and the output format for the plugin. As you can see, inDelay supports all formats, from stereo, binaural with headphones, all the major surround formats like 5.1, 7.1.4, all the way to NHK 22.2 or Sony 360 and Ambisonics up to 6th order. And finally, as you can see, whenever you hover any parameter on inDelay, down here you have a tooltip with an indication of what that parameter is doing. In case you need help, you can also press this help button, where you can find some video tutorials, the reference manual, the link to our forum, request support, or check for updates. And this was the inDelay overview. Back to you, Nuno.
Now it's time for you to test inDelay, and for that, simply go to our website and download the trial that is available there. And as always, don't forget to send your feedback, because we really love to hear from our users. So have a fantastic sound with Sound Particles.